What are some harmless ways to F with people? My dad used to have this game with a friend. They embarrassed me endlessly while I was a teen, but that was a bonus. Basically, when they were walking in the street, whenever they were passing someone, they would say things like, "Remember when you pushed your mother-in-law down the stairs?" Or, "I mean, it wasn't that much drug. Usually I carry way more than that." Or, "Where did you hide the knife after stabbing him?" You get the idea. Anything absolutely awful, as if they were having an entire conversation about drugs, murder, whatever. My dad and his friend had the whole hippie look as well, so innocent passers-by would quickly cross the street. If you ever have a moment with their computer or cell phone, use their search engine to look for a bunch of nonsense products and then erase the search history. The algorithm will think they have an interest in said products and put a bunch of ads recommending them for the next few days. There was a story on Reddit a while back where a guy was refilling his wife's ketchup bottle so that it was constantly almost empty. For months, years, she would use the same bottle, and he waited for the day she noticed that it never emptied. She bounced the bottle off his head when he revealed his game. When using a military phonic alphabet, I'll use the right ones except Q. A is in alpha, G is in golf, Q is in cucumber. Cucumber starts with a C. Oh, that's a sea cucumber. I meant a regular one. In my freshman year of college, my roommate was a very neat and orderly person. He had every pencil in place, every paper had a folder, and his things got neatly packed away. We were pretty amicable towards one another, even with my messy living. At first, when he would leave for classes, I would admire how tidy his desk was, and I thought to myself, I should F with that. For the whole year we lived together, I would sneak used staples everywhere on his stuff. Homework folder? Staple. Pencil case? Staple. Backpack? Staple. Shower caddy? You bet that pube-infested bar of soap got a staple in it. Heck, even the TV remote got a staple in it between the batteries, so when they died he would eventually find another. I did it often, but was careful to space the staple events far enough apart to not raise suspicion on myself. I further protected myself by making a huge deal of having to borrow the across-the-hall neighbor's stapler whenever I needed to bind papers together. About March of our second semester, he had become insanely suspicious of anybody with a stapler and watched them like a hawk. The straw that broke the camel's back. I had asked him one night what his plans were, under the guise of having a companion over for a visit. He said after dinner he had to go check out some obscure book at the library. When he left and headed to the dining hall, I snuck off to the library, found the obscure book he needed, and clicked a staple into it. He gets back to the dorm room, and I'm doing homework in the same spot when he had left an hour earlier, claiming the meetup didn't end up happening. He sits down at the desk and opens up his newly rented book, and tick, I hear the staple fall out onto his desk. All I hear after that is, "Yo, where the F are all these GD staples coming from?" I revealed myself after graduation when I mailed him a birthday card with a used staple in it. Thankfully, he got the biggest kick out of the card, and we still talk to this day. I mess with colleagues during meetings by controlling how they sit. You copy everything they do to start. They lean back, you lean back, etc. Then, slowly take the lead. If they are sitting back, sit forwards. I have managed to start mini Mexican waves of people moving back and forth in meetings. I do this every so often because it's kind of a game to me to see how long I can keep it up till the person catches on. I repeat the last word the person says in question form. Example, "Hey, me and Jenny are headed to Jim's Pizza Hut." "Jim's Pizza Hut? Yeah, you know the one on F Street." "F Street? Over there near the harbor with the big carousel?" "Carousel? Yeah, you know the one you went with me and Jane." "Jane? My girlfriend." "Girlfriend? Okay, what the F is wrong with you?" Once they call you out and have caught on, the game ends. I've carried on a conversation over an hour once doing this. It's really awesome when the person you are doing it to has gone through this a few times with you. My daughter has gotten me a few times herself, and she'll laugh on and off for the day at my expense. Her husband has called me an A for teaching this to her a few times, too. Whenever I visit my extended family across the country, I bring a bag full of random remotes that I don't use anymore. Just random remotes that go to old DVRs or anything really. Just hide them around their house. They only recently caught on. I put a tiny piece of masking tape over my coworker's mouse laser on April Fool's Day one year. Wrote April Fools on it. He troubleshot every single thing except examining the mouse. He eventually called IT, who simply turned the mouse over and pointed it out to him. If I know someone is walking a little ways behind me, and I turn a corner with nobody else around, I like to run 10 to 20 steps to widen the gap and then laugh to myself thinking that the person behind me will be confused. I doubt anyone ever notices, but I get a kick out of it every time. Carefully step over a non-existing obstacle. My friend used to do it with a car at red lights. He would carefully steer out of the way of literally nothing, and the rest of the cars behind him would do the same. Every other week or so, I'd change out which side my coworker's drill's belt clip was on. 2 screws in 30 seconds for a maddening payout. I don't know if he ever caught on, as he sadly passed away last year. I got a huge kick of doing it though. Might bring that one back, as most of us shared the same brand of drill. He got a great one on me. Every day or two, he'd hide a Magic the Gathering card in my toolbox. Never the same spot twice. Genuinely made me mad when I'd pick something up, only to see another card hidden beneath. Eventually I had enough cards to completely cover his locker door, inner and outer. He never took them off. Even cut out cards to fit the vents on the locker. I spent a good hour or two of my day off making it. Proud of that one. Rip, Chris. Pranks haven't been the same since you left. Your locker still remains covered in Magic cards, and nobody has questioned it to this day. My grandpa glued a quarter to his driveway near the sidewalk and sits in his living room and watches people try to pick it up. I didn't know this until I found a quarter in the driveway one time. I was talking with the supervisor and happened to have like 4 hard-boiled eggs in my jacket pocket for lunch. So while talking, I took out an egg, cracked it, and shelled it, and ate it. The conversation kept going, so I did it again, but I could see he was growing quizzical. I waited a few more minutes, pulled out another, and ate that too. By then I could tell he was like, WTF. The conversation was wrapping up, so I pulled the last one out, and he stopped mid-conversation and asked me, how many effing eggs do you have? I just shrugged, shelled, and then ate the last egg. Every few months I drive by my buddy's truck, parked at his work, and think, yeah, today is the day to mess with him. I'll open the tailgate, or maybe fold a single mirror. Sometimes I just raise one windshield wiper so it waves hello to him as he walks out after a long day. He's been complaining about it to me for years. I just smile and say, you should put up cameras. My grandpa does this thing where he stops in a busy street and starts staring into the sky as if he's seen something amazing. It doesn't take long for other people to stop and stare too. Once he's reached critical mass, he quietly slips away, chuckling to himself. While going up the chairlift at a ski resort, my friend and I would call out to someone under the chairlift, call them a random name, and yell, we'll wait for you at the top. Usually the person would spend time trying to explain to us that they weren't who we thought they were. We'd act like we couldn't hear them and insist we'd wait for them at the top. When I was a corrections officer, we had a guy who worked with us who was kind of a D to everyone, and he was computer illiterate. We took a screenshot of his desktop and moved all his icons off of it so it looked legit, but nothing worked. It took him an hour before he finally called IT, and they figured it out pretty quickly. He wouldn't talk to any of us for about a week. If you are on a Zoom call with a worker and they don't have the camera on, tell them they look nice today, and they will have a minor panic attack. Chances are they aren't paying attention to anything at all, eating, doing something completely different than what they should be, and they will think everyone can see them for a brief second. Edit. If you have a Teams or Messenger, it works well through a private chat too. I did this yesterday and messaged the person, food looks great, and got a, you can see me in my oodles of noodles, back. She was very confused. Say, I promise, after saying just about anything. Here's a glass of water. I promise. My favorite thing to do at my coffee shop job is wait until we have a line, tell the first few customers to have a good day loudly enough for the rest of the line to hear, and then tell exactly one customer, enjoy your drink, instead. 90% of the time they'll hit me with a, you too, and I just smile and nod, content in the knowledge that they'll cringe about that for the rest of the day. In high school track practice, we stole one of our friend's car keys. It was old enough it didn't have a chip inside. We drove to Home Depot and got a copy made and returned his keys. Every day at practice, we would move his car into a different parking spot, but in the same lot. Hide something around their house. My weapon of choice was tiny rubber ducks. Open a drawer? Duck. I need a spoon? Duck. Lovely picture of their wedding with a nice frame? Duck on top. Charging box? Duck. Bubble bath? Duck. Seldom used shoes? Duck. Winter coat pocket they wouldn't use for months? Duck. It's ducking delightful how much mileage you can get out of tiny ducks. Oh, just remembered my favorite. I bring things to yard sales. It's easy. Just walk up and ask, how much is this? Then act like that was too much and put it down. My girlfriend just about died laughing when I did this the first time. It's much more fun than taking your stuff to Goodwill. I am trying to find the right person to pull this prank on. Pretend to be their aging great-aunt Joan. Send them $5 on their birthdays, 20 for Christmas. Make sure to mention something personal about their lives so they know it's not a mistake. Then after a few years of this, purchase a really ugly, old painting and send it to their home with a notification that Joan left it to them in her will, hoping they will cherish it as she had. Never admit to being the one that did it. In college, I had a roommate who was also a good friend. He would go to his parents on the weekend and lock the door to his room. My other roommates and I would give him S because he knew we wouldn't steal his stuff or anything. So naturally, I learned how to lockpick. We would get into his room and do subtle things like mess up his bed and move things to other places in the room. Every week he would get back and be like, "Did you guys F with my stuff?" We would always say, "How would we even do that? You lock your room." We continued to do it the rest of the year. I don't think he ever figured out what was going on. Lol. I like to ask for things that don't exist. 3D graph paper, leg of salmon, desk stretcher, eggless omelet. My favorite was the clerk who asked me if I needed help. I asked for a leg of salmon. He said, "Check the guy at the sushi counter. I know he has some." So I walked up there. He asked what I needed and I said, "Corey told me you had a leg of salmon here." He shook his head and said, "Corey is an idiot." At a pharmacy, pick up a box of condoms and take it to the cashier. When they ring it up, balk at the price and say you need to replace it with something cheaper. Come back with plastic wrap and tape. A lady in my office wouldn't stop talking about gaslighting and people who were gaslighting, so we told her it was actually called gas lamping, and she has the term wrong. Took a bit of convincing, but she started using that term and telling everyone else they were wrong too. A week later, we changed it back to gaslighting. Me and my friend used to do this thing, always unprompted by either, just organically started. When together with a group, one of us would ask, "What's the difference between a banana and an orangutan?" When nobody guesses, the punchline is, "You peel the banana." The other guy just then loses it, cracking up. Everyone else is left confused. When they ask for the explanation, we just keep exaggerating the peel part, and motion like we're peeling a banana. You peel it. You peel the banana. Eventually, we will try to change the subject and slowly move on, having never explained anything or given away that it's a ruse. I had a friend who had a very big house, and he spent very little time in most of it. Over the course of several months, I replaced all the pictures in the picture frames in the rooms with dinosaur erotica. We had an old colonial house in New Jersey, and our local historical society asked us one year if we would host their Christmas party. My mom was absolutely neurotic about cleaning and decorating the house. Well, just before the party started, my brothers and I took these wooden blocks on our mantle that spelled "I Heart Santa" and rearranged them to spell "I Heart Satan." Turns out, in front of that mantle, they gave speeches, presented year-end awards, and took photographs. So many photographs.